L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has hit Canadian farmers with a carbon tax that drives up food prices at the grocery store. Food prices that are rising again only months after he promised they would come down. I asked him late last year if he would talk to the Medeiros farm about their rising carbon tax bill. They just got their bill for December, and it is $21,000 in carbon taxes alone. I ask now, as I asked back then, how exactly will the Medeiros family pay this bill when it quadruples to over $80,000 a year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's interesting that the Conservative leader is asking the government to help out the Medeiros family farm now, because back in 2014, when the Medeiros fan came to him in government, asked him for some support as they were trying to make investments, trying to continue to move forward, he told them that they needed to stand on their own 2 feet. That's what he told that farm. Mr. Speaker, we are there to support farmers right across the country with $1.5 billion over the past few years in investments, in supports. We're going to continue to be there for farmers as they fight climate.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Actually, when the Medeiros family asked for me for help, I went to Enbridge and helped them get lower-cost natural gas to power their operation, Mr. Speaker. That's the real story. So instead of reading the disinformation from the kids in short pants over in PMO, why doesn't he deal with the thing that's really hurting that family right now? A $21,000 monthly carbon tax bill that is passed on to the trucker who ships the food and the grocer who sells the food. So once again, how much will Canadians have to pay in higher food prices when he quadruples the carbon tax?
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, back in 2014, he told that farm family to stand on their own 2 feet. We, Mr. Speaker, know what is making farmers vulnerable across this country. Do you know what it is, Mr. Speaker? It's climate change. It's the fact that a changing climate causes droughts, floods, and fires, which droughts, floods, and fires end up hurting crops, end up hurting growers. That's why we're stepping up on fighting climate change. Farmers across this country know how important it is to sustain and protect our land. That's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what we're going to continue to do.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He mentions drugs. That's another crisis that he has caused, Mr. Speaker. But back to the cost of food, heat, and groceries. This Prime Minister plans to raise the carbon tax again on April 1st. Another hike to the gas, the heat, the grocery bills. Another hit to the Nova Scotia families who can't afford to pay their utility bills, and another hit to working class families while he jets around the world carbon tax free. If he can't have the common sense to axe the tax, will he at least cancel his plan to hike the tax on April 1st?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
You know what the Leader of the Opposition is proposing to cut for Canadians? The carbon rebate, Mr. Speaker. The checks that Canadians get in price on pollution is in place that they are relying on to enable them to both fight climate change and support their families. We are going to continue to be there to fight climate change and put more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadian families. When he talks about cutting climate action, he's also talking about cutting those checks that arrive in families' bank accounts 4 times a year.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer, the average 60% of Canadians are paying more in his carbon tax than they get back in rebates. And now we learn that 40% of Nova Scotia households are struggling to pay their electricity bills. The carbon tax, of course, applies on the share of electricity that is generated through traditional hydrocarbons and other fossil fuels, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister is going to hit Canadians with yet another tax hike on April the 1st. Will he, if he can't summon the common sense to axe the tax, will he at least cap the tax so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, We are fighting climate change and creating a stronger economy at the same time as we ensure affordability for Canadians. Those carbon rebate checks that go right across the country in areas where the federal price applies help out 8 out of 10 families with more money than they pay in the price on pollution. We will continue to be there to both invest in families, to support them, while the Conservative leader proposes to cut rebate checks to Canadians. We're going to keep doing it while we fight climate change.
The honourable member from Burnaby South.